All right. It is 10 o'clock, and I'm going to respect everyone's time by starting on time. It's a very important thing for us. So welcome to this Zoom call where we're going to talk about some stuff, get through some content, and also have kind of a conversation together. What I like to do first, this is an improvement from last time for those of you who have been with us for a few of our sessions. It's always nice to know who's actually in the room. So if you could in the chat just drop in what your name is and where you work, and then we can kind of everyone can kind of see what kind of we have a diverse group, and you might not know that by if you didn't know where people are coming from. So if you could just, while I'm talking, just type in kind of a little bit about yourself, and then people can kind of understand who's all here. And so my name is Tucker. I'll be facilitating the conversation today. My role here at Kaas is I'm the GM assistant. So basically I handle a lot of different roles and tasks for the general manager in an effort to understand what it's like to be a general manager at a small business. And so that's a little bit about me. Us at Kaas, our kind of our mission or our manifesto here is to be a place where we shine our light. And so that's a really big piece of why we're here today, is to hopefully be a light into this kind of dark and kind of crazy world right now. And so yeah, and a big part of that is also helping potential come alive and thrive. So whether that's potential here at Kaas or potential elsewhere, we just like to be a place that we help, kind of equip people for the future. So we have packed a show for you today where we're going to go through some different things. Basically, Jeff is going to start by talking about kind of a daily management system component, which is the Daily Huddle component. So we've talked about a few different components, and we're going to get into the Huddle system. And then at some point, one of my colleagues who's been here for a while, named Darren, he's going to come. He's our production manager. He's going to come on and share a little bit about what he's learned through implementing our Daily Huddle system. So you get a little different perspective, different flavor, very different flavor than Jeff and I. And then at that point, we'll do some breakout sessions and kind of get you guys mingling, because in reality, yeah, that's kind of what we need in this world right now. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Jeff. Jeff, why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do here nowadays?
Yeah, it's funny. I just did a group selfie. Some of you saw that. I can't believe some of the faces who are here. So yeah, it's good to see you all. And if I don't say your name, it doesn't mean that I'm not thankful to see you. So yeah, so my name is Jeff. Technically, I am responsible for the Office of President at Kaas Tailored. My primary focus here is to hopefully be valuable to you today. So your participation will make this a lot more fun for all of us. And yeah, if there's anything we can do to help you, just know that it's pretty normal for us to be on FaceTime or Zoom, helping other leaders try to figure this out. We learn every time we help other people learn. So don't think this is your only opportunity to hang with us if it's useful to you. So, so today we're going to focus on the next step in our series. We're trying to focus on what is a daily management system. And for those of you who are here before, I'm going to bore you with this again. Those of you who've not been here before, when we say daily management system, you might hear the phrase DMS. We believe that it's a part of an integrated system that includes the strategy of the organization. So what Tucker just mentioned, shine our light, has 3 core values. It's improve every day, it's give our best to our best, and it's know and show the truth. So we'll talk about how that strategy is reflected in huddles. Today's focus will be on huddles. The next, I think it's in December, will be on visual management, and that's where one of my colleagues will present a lot of the tools that he's created to connect into huddles and connect into strategy. And last but not least is this horrible word called leader standard work, which sounds awful, but it's actually do what's awesome and stop doing things that suck. So today we're going to focus on huddles, and as it relates to our values, this is how we know and show truth. So with that, the premise of this idea, or this talk today, was supposed to be how daily huddles can help organization achieve flow. But I'm not sure that all of you even want flow. So this is a question I think that most organizations need to start with is, what is flow, and why should I even give a darn? So and I keep looking at the big screen so I can see your faces. So I'll look at you now. Sorry about that. So starting with what is flow, and the simplest version of that is we create value without delay. The value creation never stops. So if you're watching even Laverne and Shirley reruns, how beer comes off the line, that's what flow looks like. Today's focus will be on the information factory. We got this term from our friends in Holland who described, hey, we can look at the factory that builds furniture and a customer can actually tell us if they like it or don't like it by the price they pay. But what about all those other activities that are outside of that factory? How do we manage that, and how do we apply flow to that? So today our focus is on the information factory, and that's frankly for us where things get stuck. We're an idea, we're like, this is super solid, let's do it. And it blows up 6 months later and nobody even remembers how we got started or why it blew up. When we say flow, the why part that we want you to think about is when you take a system and you move it from not flow to flow, there's always a 30% improvement, always, always, always. So if you have a business person that cares about higher quality, lower costs, shorter lead time, business people kind of care about that. It's always 30%. It's so reliably 30% that I can tell you it's almost always 50%. So if you get a 25% improvement by moving to flow, you kind of screwed up. So that's how we know we screwed up a lot of stuff, because we haven't seen that yet. But also, in addition to that, we see a big impact on fear reduction, which maybe that matters to your teams. A massive impact on anxiety, which would be an outpouring maybe of fear. A big improvement in joy levels. Important for organizations is learning and innovation, and maybe getting home on time to spend time with the family. So if anybody's ever talking to you and you're ever in a position to say, should we learn about lean, Kaizen, or flow? If they're not interested in a 30% improvement on things that kind of matter to the organization, I just recommend you walk out of the room. This is proven over and over and over again. This is not a Jeff thing, this is a science thing. So if you have any questions about that. So when we say flow, we mean just value creation never stops. And we care because we want to get 30% better on everything, because I want to be a husband, father, and other thing other than business guys. So, and if you have questions on that, just start throwing those in there along the way. So I want to talk specifically about huddles, and I asked one of my colleagues to put up the tool we're using. So really high level, the huddle that we decided to do on a daily basis, there are various groups that meet, but this is, oh yeah, that's our, no, the Trello, yeah. We happen to use Trello to manage our huddles. So, and there's any variety of tools, but it's Trello plus Zoom or Trello plus FaceTime. And this is actually today's board. So you'll be able to see, and I'm gonna go column by column to explain kind of how it works. Before I go into the details of that, it's every day at 7:30, we all call in from wherever we are in the world. And when I say we all, it's all the responsible parties over the entire org. So we cannot do this successfully if we leave out a section of our organization. So there's about 11 people every day on the call. And if you look at the columns, the sequence is we have help requests. This might be if we're blocked. So the face on the card is just who's asking for help. And then I think they're all self-explanatory. The next thing is I have something to share. And what we really want to see on the share card is this is something that I learned today. This might be relevant end to end, meaning I learned it maybe in my silo in production, but maybe that'll be interesting to the integration team or the design and development team. And then the third one is an appreciation card section. So Tuck, can you pull up the appreciation card? So as an example of, is that easy to do? All right, Peter Cable is not just a lean student. That's very funny. He calls himself a lean student. Okay, yeah, so here's a standard word for appreciate. So, and we actually create content sequence timing. So the who, what, why, what was this helpful, and how is it connected to a value? So in this example, Johnny took on some inventory counts yesterday, helped me free the rest of us to get our shipments out on time. And this is a great example of Toyota Principle 4, level the workload. So the purpose of this is that we say we want to give our best to our best, and that's one of our values. And this is a very specific part of our huddle every day, we're trying to tie in our strategy piece of best for our best to our daily activities so we know the truth of things. Can we go back to the main one again? The main Trello board? Yeah. The all columns. We're experimenting on all of you today, showing all this. So yeah, sorry about that. Okay, then what are we doing today? And when somebody presents what they're doing today, it's this is what I'm doing today. We're expecting them to tell us what they actually think they will get done. So a lot of times you'll see on here, I'm working on a contract, which is absolutely nothing. It doesn't tell us anything. What we're actually looking for is tell us the step that you're going to do, a small bit, and what do you expect to learn from that? So this is the idea, the value, the third value we have of improve every day. So if you say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I expect to learn at the 7:30, then at the end of the day at 4:30, we all call back together. We basically survived a day. And at 4:30, we all call back in. And it's basically just a question going through this column of, hey, did you do it? Yes or no? And what did you learn? So we're trying to build end-to-end thinking for all parties who are on the call so that they are able to see how their activities are connected into other parts of our business. A lot of times as we kind of go back into the past and look and say, why is it that things got stuck? Is it because the left hand didn't even know what the right hand was doing, or the left hand didn't know that they were connected into the right hand? So this is our way of connecting end-to-end thinking every day. There's a few other columns that might be of interest. So we have a what are you doing, which is we have a date, we know we're going to do it, but it's not into today's work, so we don't lose those. And then the sixth column is what we may do. So we throw ideas here that we don't want to lose, and it's in that we call day after tomorrow. These are ideas we may or may not do. We're not committed to doing it, but so that we can start seeing the thinking of the things that might get done. This has been quite interesting because an example where this was helpful is our design and development team needed an innovation in the way that we machine things in order to do some work for a customer of ours. And they saw something that our R&D guy was working on. They just basically said, can you pull the day after tomorrow idea you have? And the idea is micro machining. Can you pull that into tomorrow? Can we put a project together? And can you get those into actual production? And the good news I can say today is those are in production today. And as of yesterday, they were cutting parts, which is crazy. So yeah, so that is the basic format. The purpose of this is to keep value creation moving. It's all about information. You'll notice that there's really no products flowing through here. Most of the items that were in these columns would have taken weeks to get done. The other thing we're noticing here is because we're meeting every day, our own misinterpretations of behaviors are being minimized. So those of you who know me, you know I'm super direct, which comes across as being super rude because I am kind of rude. I don't mean to be, I just am. And I have a saggy face that doesn't help. So because we're moving every day a little bit and bit, my team is able to say, hey, are you pissed at me? Oh, no, you're not. Okay, great, let's move on. So the kinds of things that you would hope to do in terms of team building or connecting people together, this activity has really helped. There's one card that I failed to mention on the share card, which is in the shared stack at the bottom, is Everyday Tucker is listening through the conversation and making sure that anything that's important to the rest of the organization gets into the rest of the huddles, which are those huddles which are closer to the Gemba. So with that, I didn't talk about the basic structure. So the basic structure is we rotate the facilitator every week, and that allows the rest of us to focus on the business. The facilitator's job is to make sure that we're focused on following the process that we've agreed to. Yeah. So
Jeff, there's one more thing that I think would be good to talk about, and that's the format of the "What are we doing today" cards. We have a photo to share of that, so that
yeah. Shoot, I forgot we had that. Cool. All right. So yeah, so the experiment card. It's the idea of So this is just what am I doing today? We'll write down. We want to phrase it as experiment. So I get very overwhelmed with very small projects. I don't know why that's true about me, but if I take it into tiny bits, I find that I'm able to get things done. So I will write down the thing I think will get things done. An example of that, this last month, or not last month, last week, I realized that I didn't have an electronic copy of my will, which is maybe not so important to you guys, but it's been bugging me for 3 years.
It's important to some of us.
Yeah. So when I said fix the will or make an electronic copy of the will, I was unable to succeed. It just overwhelmed me. But by actually writing, I will pull the paperwork and put it into my car tonight. What I expect to happen is I think I'll be a little scared to do it, but I will go find that paperwork. And then when I was able to run the experiment, I was able to say, I actually put the paper in the cars, and I learned that it wasn't so scary. So it's the idea of every day, every activity. We're trying to build learners and build scientific thinking into our daily activity, because the goal of all of this is really to grow people. We just happen to get shit done as a byproduct of that. Yeah.
And Jeff, how does this kind of structure get rolled out? Like in terms of like, whose role is it in an organization to implement something like this?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I missed that. Yeah. So,
yeah, it's fair.
So when I was a young kid here working, I was making somebody else's designs, so I'd build furniture, but there was an architect of each piece of furniture. So it's really normal for when you talk assignments, responsibilities in a company, the responsibility of developing that product might be that person who's a product designer, but who is responsible for designing the system that makes things? And so we really believe that the office of president, that is probably the most important thing, is to decide what is our strategy and then to build this integrated structure. That's my job. That's a corner office job. I get a lot of help to do that. But if you aren't in the corner office of your company and you aren't supporting that, as a team leader, you can certainly do all of these things. So you can have a strategy, you can have a daily huddle, you can for sure have visual management so everybody knows what's going on, and you can have leader standard work. So just make sure you know that wherever you are in life, this is a system that you can do. But most of the bigger companies that I bump into, there's nobody building the system. When I say who is responsible for the outcomes that this system is producing, basically everybody points their fingers. There's a famous guy named Deming who said that 90% of the performance of a system is actually, or a performance of a person is related to the system you're in. So when I look at bad outcomes in my company, I always go back and say, what is it that I have done incorrectly, or what can I do to improve the system? Because I know we have honorable people trying really hard most of the time. Yeah, thanks for asking. You gonna pass it to you, Tuck?
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so our special guest is just joining us now. Let's see if he can connect to his audio. Darren, are you there? Are you with us?
Wow, special guest, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we've worked together so long that we both had mullets when we started, so that's have fun, dude.
Yeah, usually special and my name don't go together, so I think.
That's awesome. So this is Darren. He's employee number 6, so he's been around for a little bit. And Darren is our production manager, so he's responsible for the build and deliver part of our organization. So it's kind of a big deal because we're manufacturers. So Darren, I have a few questions for you, since you are one of the kind of main contributors to our daily management system call, and it'd be good to get your perspective on this. So what are some things that you've learned through kind of our second attempt at a DMS, kind of in the last 9 months? What are some things that you've learned through that process?
Oh man, I probably would say that I feel more connected across the board to areas of the business that, being a production manager, I typically just say, hey, did our materials get here? Are we hitting our bill of operations, and are we meeting our quality and delivery specs? So in the past, I've really kind of disconnected myself a little bit from other parts of the business. Whereas this has really pulled me into other areas. And it's amazing. I kind of made some notes here. I'm really learning more and more about other areas of the business and the actual people that are responsible for those things, other than just, I guess, line stopper conversations, or, very specific, like daily things that happen. Whereas by having a morning DMS and an end of the day DMS, I'm actually able to learn really what's going on in other areas of the business through our share cards, and also the people that are responsible. It's kind of a different setting. So yeah,
makes a lot of sense. And to me, that sounds a lot like kind of the theme we're talking about right now, which is enabling flow. So how has the Daily Huddle system enabled flow for you? So like what I hear you saying is you're able to hear more information kind of upstream before it kind of gets to you, because you're kind of at the end of the road there with production. So what are some ways that it's kind of enabled flow for you? You have a specific example?
Yeah, I could use an example from today. We had one of my direct reports was working on a non-conformance. And the way our non-conformance works is our general manager is the final sign-off on anything that's external. And before the SO4 DMS that Tucker and I are part of, I have a DMS with my team. And there's a help column. So in the help column there, it was, hey, I need Ken to sign off. I've got this NCR non-conformance done. I need Ken to sign off on it. So what I was able to do was basically just move that card over to my my next DMS, upper level DMS, and basically ask Ken, say, hey, it's clearly right in there. He says, oh yeah, no, I got to sign off on it. So he moved it to what he was doing today. Whereas in the past, it would have been this looking around for somebody or trying to see if they can
send an email.
Yeah, where this just we presented it in an area of our business that is every day we do it. And the beautiful part about it is, and this is something else I wrote down, it provides a level of accountability across the board, because nobody likes to say, hey, what are you doing today? And then it comes to, did you get that done today? And the first thing you go is, oh no, I didn't get it done. So you're kind of exposed to your coworkers also and your commitment to getting something done. So in this case, it's already signed off and gone, and it might have taken a little bit longer. So
yeah, that's really good. Awesome. Thank you for joining us and sharing your perspective. That's really neat to see kind of some more colorful examples of how it's helped you do your job better. And I can attest that it has helped me as well to be able to kind of enable flow. So I'm stopping and starting a lot less. So awesome. Thank you, Darren.
yeah.
So next thing we're going to do is get into small groups. And basically, I'm going to send you the prompt because you might not remember it. But basically, as a group of 4 or 5 people, talk about which words you'd use to describe your current information factory. So right now we're talking about flow of information rather than flow of material, flow of product, and include your feelings that you're experiencing as well. So not just kind of more analytical words, but also let's talk about some emotions. So talk to each other, and I'll give you guys about 4 minutes, and then I'll bring you guys back. So opening up all rooms now. Have fun. Can you hear me, Alex? All right, welcome back. So one of our favorite things to do here at Kaas is to reflect. So that's like the best way to kind of, or one of the best ways to kind of lock in the learning. So what I'm going to ask you guys to do, if you're willing, is to spend the next 60 seconds. I'll set a timer so we stay on track. Actually, I won't because I don't know where my phone is. But we're going to spend 1 minute typing in, is it one word, Jeff? One word. Yeah, one word into the chat that kind of describes the current state of the information factory. So I'll just count. No kidding, I won't do that. But I'll keep track of 1 minute. Okay, go ahead and enter it into the chat so we can kind of get a pull from the room if you're willing. And then if your boss is on the call, maybe just there's a way to send it just to me privately. So that was kind of a joke, but also. All right, so Jeff, are you going to write these down? Do you want me to read them to you, or? Cool. All right, so what we got here is, get ready to run right fast because we have a lot of willing participants. So segmented, disconnected, improving, so that's good. Frustrating. Let me get over here so I can see where, without the lag. Anxiety. Nice. That's from Beast, our friend over there, down in California. Isolated. Chaotic. Incomplete. Scattered. Distrust. Siloed. Nice.
So our word cloud would be like this.
Siloed. There you go. Oh, a fourth one. Thank you. Siloed. Inconsistent. And some more. Not much flow is what Stan added. So that's our list. Thank you for participating.
Really great. I mean, not really great, because this would have described us exactly maybe 6 months ago. This would have been how we would just say, hey, how's the DMS thing? We didn't have a huddle structure. I didn't know what the heck was going on in my business. Yeah, we had all those, right? And then some. Yeah. So this huddle thing we weren't doing until COVID hit, and we certainly weren't doing it. We did some huddles, but we did not have the idea that we should be managing the information factory. So our culture has radically transformed in a period of about 6 months just by doing this. And we had quite a bit of help from some friends that we had at Nordstrom who I thought I saw one of them on here. Jamie Bergman helped us do this very early in COVID. We brought in things that are really uncomfortable to talk about, like feelings, which is not my favorite thing, but yeah. What's the next section there, Tuck? You can take it.
Yeah, so thank you for sharing. We're gonna kind of transition to more of a time of Q&A. So I'm gonna send you back in your groups, and please spend the next 3 minutes, since you guys are best friends now, so you don't need to do introductions. 3 minutes to discuss kind of what you're still curious about, or kind of basically, yeah, we're gonna spend the last like 35 minutes with some Q&A. So basically, as you go, just kind of jot that down in the chat, and then we'll go through some Q&A. So I'm going to open up the rooms and have fun. See you in 3.
That's tough. Hey, Denny, Oregon. I can see that you're not joining the group, but I wanted to say hi to you anyways. I see you moving. You're on mute though.
Yeah, there we go. Anyway, just
Hey,
didn't
how
see
are you?
me jump in one of the rooms, so I'm just hanging out.
No, it's so great. Yeah, it's really good to see you. And thanks for helping Tucker with his LinkedIn.
No, happy to do it. You guys are you guys. You know, I love you guys and what you're doing. And,
Yeah,
and it's so fun just to still be connected.
Yeah, it's more than mutual. And I heard you have a new hobby, or that you've decided to become masterful at one of your hobbies. Is that correct?
Oh well, which one?
Botany. Well, something about growing things.
Master
You're up
gardener.
in near Western, so figured you probably got a good weed crop going.
No. Yeah, maybe 50 years ago, but no. My wife and I decided to become master gardeners in Skagit County.
Wow.
So it's a cool program. It's a way to give back to the community and teach others about gardening. And really, it's some people think it's about learning to be gardeners, but it's really learning to give back.
Awesome.
So it's an incredible group of people. A lot of fun.
Okay.
COVID messed it up horribly this last year, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah. So what does that look like in a non-COVID world? What would that look like for you?
Oh, we would do a lot of outreach. We do teaching. We'd also do growing, and we teach people. My specialty is kind of tomatoes, so I specialize in learning myself a lot of the nuances. I knew a lot about it, but I learned about 10 times as much as I ever did. I learned how much I didn't know, but now it's
so fun.
It's fun to teach other people and be like a coach to other people and help them with their problems. And the people around the island, Sandwich, where we live, they know me as the tomato guy now. So they call me or email me when they've got questions, and I'll go do house calls. And,
that's so great.
It's a fun thing. It's something my wife and I can do together. So
love it.
Fun.
Yeah. And Tuck also mentioned that we should be praying for you. So you got some health stuff you're figured out?
Yeah, I'm working on some cancer stuff. So longer story when there's more time, but prayers are appreciated for sure.
Yeah. Well, those things are real to us, so we'll do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I think it's interesting that using a tomato as a gateway to keep loving your community. I love that. It's so great.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's no surprise. Of course you are. Isn't that crazy that a tomato could be the currency to get into somebody's house to help them appreciate nature, appreciate neighborhoods? Come on. You can write a book?
Yeah, it doesn't get any better. I mean,
that's so great.
It's special.
Yeah. Oh man. So tomatoes are funny. That's the one thing. As a kid, my grandma literally did take me to the garden. That's where I learned pull. That's where I learned harvest. All these things. And the tomato area, like when those things got ripe, we would literally walk out with the salt shaker, and just gorge. It's the one thing I ever tried to grow. I don't really have a yard, but it's the one thing. And what a day it was when my grandma came and saw my tomato garden, and she was boasting of, wow, these are beautiful tomatoes. I still have chills just thinking about it. So I won't look at tomatoes the same anymore. You're now in the grandma tomato story.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so welcome back. So the next 35 minutes or so, we're gonna kind of penciled out for Q&A. So I realized after I sent you guys away that the chat only works within your guys' little chat circles. So if you guys want to, if anyone wants to like be bold enough to actually ask like a live question, go ahead. If not, just if you want, if you're maybe more of an introvert like myself, go ahead and use the chat and just kind of dump in some questions there. And I'll be kind of the moderator asking questions to Jeff and the team. So does anyone have anywhere to start? Any brave souls?
Hey, Tucker.
Hey.
Hi, Gary Strand from Northwest Bank. So when implementing or starting a huddle routine, is there a preferred, is the secret like walk, jog, and then run? Or
Yeah.
take forever? Or is it run and then learn quick? Or does it depend on the organization? That's the first question. Then
That's a really good question. We'll do one at a time because I'm a boy and I can't do two. It's actually, before you walk, it's actually just lift your head up and go, would flow, create the kind of lifestyle value. So I think it's really important, especially for leaders, and I know you are one, to say, is it really possible that living a different way can create the kind of results, the kind of blessings that I want my team and my customers to experience? So to me, that's the lifting your head up part. And then, maybe a little bit of crawling towards the direction of shall we do it? And I'd say working with your teams a little bit to say, if we actually huddled every day, like how long does, and so maybe observe right now, how long it takes from an idea to get to an action. So you have an idea of your baseline. One of the things that I want to make sure that we're encouraging is do a little bit of math to say, what is the current state so that you'll have a story to tell. And what I mean by that is to build into the culture that you're creating at Northwest Bank to make sure that the next generation of leaders can go, hey, when we do huddles, we want you to know why we did it. The way we worked before would cause about a 3-week delay. And we want to get that down to 3 minutes. And the huddles allow us to do it. And my personal experience with your bank is your team already does understand it because you outperformed every other bank on the continent to get PPP loans done. So what that tells me is you have a team that understands flow and creating value, or you have a couple of people who just worked their butts off, maybe both. But how do we create a culture to make sure that as you get promoted into new things in your organization, that it improves after you leave? So then the next part is for sure, once you kind of have a basic understanding of the current state, then it is really simple. Pick a time in the morning, make it sacred, make it fun. And the virtual to me is really important, where you can do that and be wherever you are. And so for us, 7:30 to 7:55, not a minute past and usually less. And then from 4:30 to about 4:42, that's now sacred time for us. And for sure, we'll be glad to share the Trello template we're using and the standard work that we're already following with any of you. If you just email Tucker and say, we just want to put it on and try it. But the problem is you'll have some naysayers in there in your group. If you, in most organizations, maybe not true for your bank, who will start bitching and moaning about, oh, I don't have time for that. Well, they're too busy doing rework all day to realize that they could solve the problem here. So leadership has to be super committed to teaching the principles of eliminating the 7 waste or maybe the 14 principles of Toyota, so that people start to realize, oh, my life got better. It took us a while. Like literally we had done it for 3 months and our general manager, Ken's like, hey, when can we stop? I'm like, what do you mean stop? Like never. Like when you put a bullet in my head, that's when we're stopping, not before. And it took quite a bit of help from our friends to actually help us get to the point where we would continue it. And he actually kind of accepted me being kind of a jerk, saying, no, we'll do this forever. So even with everything we know about waste, he was like, this is kind of a hassle. And partly because it wasn't good enough yet. So we had to say, well, what would we need to do in the huddle to make you want to be there? And that's when he started leading it to say, well, I want to hear this. I don't want to hear that. Okay, great. Build that in the standard work. Make sure that's part of the deal. He was like, I'm tired of hearing somebody say, I'm going to work on this. I know they're not going to. I'm like, well, your job is the conductor. Tell them to play the damn flute. Tell them to play just that part. If they tell you they're playing and they're not, then yell at them. I don't care. Do something, right? So it took us really coming together around the principles of how are you going to know and show truth? How are we going to give our best for our best? How are we going to improve every day? If you don't do this, give me a better option. So it was a hard fought battle to get it across the finish line here.
And in reality, part of that is because we didn't have standard work. We didn't have, until like literally last week, we were kind of just using tribal knowledge, which was not good enough. So it has been a lot better as of late, which kind of has into the next question that GIF asked, which is, in what ways has our daily conversations changed over the last 6 months? And then also a question about like how long it lasts, which is more, that's an easy one. It's basically 30 minutes at the beginning of the day, 10 minutes at the end of the day. But yeah, so what are some evolutions that we went through, Jeff?
Yeah, so let's take the first one, is how have our conversations changed? Yeah, that's a really good question, because it absolutely changes the structure of our conversation. So in a group of people, you're going to have some people that talk because they love to hear their voice, and you have some people who won't talk because they're, you know, maybe more comfortable writing. What this has done is, by creating standard work and saying it's about a minute a card, is the expectation is that we each do present and follow content. So so what has changed is it's much more deliberate about what we're actually hoping to achieve, or tying that back to our strategy. I would say another thing that we're seeing is I'm having far fewer other conversations. I know I'm going to see somebody tomorrow or at 4:30. So if I need help on something and I can wait, I just put it as a help card. If there's news that I have that I normally didn't want to share, or didn't know how to share, I didn't know what would happen, I didn't really have a platform for that. Now I can share newsworthy items, and I can watch the faces of people as we go over it and go, hey, I'm sharing this because. A very specific thing happened very early, is that I did not recognize how different Ken and I and our leadership styles were. So one of the things that Ken asked for is, and it's because he and I were fighting amongst, so our daily huddles actually was a daily brawl, honestly, right? There's a daily brawl between Jeff and Ken and a few other, but mostly Jeff being a dick. So his request was, you know, Jeff, I need time to process things. It would be really great if you would not surprise me with the help card. So now if I add a help or a share or something that is relevant to them, I'll go ahead and text him any of the sensitive ones to him, so he has time to process it. I'll give him the right to delete it before we go to the meeting. So it has actually allowed us to recognize, okay, we're different. We're not right or wrong. We're just different. And it's changed the way that he and I interact. I think the other thing that you would hear is almost all the leaders now can actually speak to the experimental mindset. So here's what I'm going to do today. Here's what I expect to learn. Here's what I did learn. And this is maybe what I'm going to do the next day. So what we're now seeing, and we'll do this as a future video, is start training. We're implementing Toyota Kata from Mike Rother's book. And we're starting to see that thinking infect everything we do, and especially these conversations. So higher value, more learning, way faster on flow. And Darren, I think, mentioned is he's able now to contribute into ideas for design and development or finance and HR in ways that he never was able to before. Does that answer your question, Gif?
Looks like it did. Gif asked a follow-on question, which I think is good to segue to, which is how long did it take until trusted conversation occur between the participants? Because early on, I'll be honest, from my perspective, I only shared the good things, or like, you know, things that were like politically neutral, personally. But it has made a lot of progress to the point where I can share the thing I shared today that was more emotionally, you know, nerve-wracking. So what was the trust curve looking like?
Yeah, it's so I'm a really big proponent of looking at the interactions to determine how the system is performing. So if you look at what the Daily Huddle is that we actually did a little bit of math, and we said, how many interactions did we have with each other if you're to measure all the interactions in the company a year ago today? And I've asked several people, how many interactions are happening now? And we think it's tenfold increase, even more exponentially bigger. So we're interacting much more frequently, which means the bit of information is smaller, and the likelihood of making bad product. So those of you who understand, batch production is basically the opposite of flow. And what happens when you do batch production, if you're making 100 at a time, is if you make one wrong, you have 100 wrong. It's a big deal. What we were doing before was batch communication, maybe a meeting a week. So me and Ken and I, would speak about once a week. Now we're speaking 3 times a day at least, sometimes 4 times a day. So the number of interactions are actually causing us to know when we're going sideways a little bit, which allow us to build trust. So there's a word also that's familiar to probably many of you, the word hope. And hope is usually built on a foundation of trust. I got that from Jamie Bergman and help of Webster's. So for us to have truthful hope towards working to one another and be able to know that, hey, when I put something up, it's a decent chance I'm going to get it done. That is, I would say, it's the building blocks of trust. Of course, trust can be lost in a minute. So it's something we'll always have to work on. Does that answer your question? But it was actually very quick. I'd say 3 to 4 months, which is real fast for business. Yeah. Does that answer his question? Yeah.
Yeah, we're getting thumbs up from Kip. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
So Eric's bringing up a good question next, which is it's kind of a chicken or the egg question, which is, do leaders of silo departments have to believe in flow first before having interconnected huddles, or will the system of interconnected huddles create a belief in flow?
We've seen
thoughts
both.
on that?
That's a great question. Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm a Christian. What that means, I believe the Bible's true, which means I'm a wingnut by most opinions of the world, which is fine. But there's this idea of just put on Christ and you'll understand him. So just put him on as a jacket and live that way and see what you learn. So in the example of putting on a flow line, so those of you who know my friends, a retailer downtown Seattle, I spent a lot of time with at Nordstrom, is they're just putting on flow lines. And what we're seeing is those people who are putting it on are starting to understand the goodness of it, but they don't know why. They can't tell you the 7 ways, the 14 principles. They can't tell you the science behind why it works. But if you ask them for the fruits of doing flow, they'll say, we're getting higher quality, shorter lead time, more joy. We're learning all the things you expect in flow. So I think there's 2 ways that can go. And I really believe that the hands teach the head and the hands teach the heart. And there is a virtuous circle. But the question, I think, is really, if you don't provide the hands an opportunity to learn that, and most organizations don't, then we're never going to get there. So there's if you're a corner office person, I want to really encourage you, call me. Please lead this way. I'll be happy to help you. If you're not the corner office person, still, please call me. We'll help you because you can do this either way. Does that answer your question, Eric? That's a real meaty question. I should look. I can see his face, and he has a child hanging out with him, so I should probably watch my mouth.
He said sure. Yeah, I don't see any AirPods
Okay,
in, so yeah, be careful.
I love that question. That's danger. Okay.
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Eric. The next question I see is from Kaji. What metrics are you looking at to measure the success of these meetings, and maybe more generally to like those harder to measure things, right? Yeah. How do we know we're
my
successful?
Question, who's asking the question?
I have not met this person, so I'm not sure.
Whoever you are, do you have
friend.
A metric for how much you love your spouse or your kids? You can tell us in the chat line. Do you have a metric for that? No. Okay, Kaji, cool name. Yeah, so nice to meet you. Yeah, so I don't have a measure for how much I love my kids, how much I love my wife, how much I love serving you. So there are some things that we don't put metrics to. If I was in a bigger organization, I needed to show metrics, I would start measuring the amount of time it takes an idea to get from idea to maybe to the customer. So we're working with a client right now, and they're trying to get something to the customer. The system right now has been trying to do that for about 4 months. They still haven't succeeded. On Friday, myself and a colleague and three people from that company accomplished what hasn't been accomplished. We did it Friday, Monday, Tuesday. Today Wednesday. Today will be in production. So if you just look at every area and just start looking at, okay, what was the cost of something, meaning how much time did it take or how much resources? What was the quality of it, meaning the fidelity or closeness? In the case of the information factory, it's close to the target of our vision. The lead time, how long it take that to get there. But then you can ask other questions, like you could get Darren back on the horn and say, dude, you've worked here for 30 years. How's your joy factor? How's your fear factor? Can we measure that? Yeah, you can go to the doctor and have, do some prodding and find some things to discuss with you. But some of these things we have to take as gospel. So the great thing about us is we actually have a physical factory, and we can test this stuff in the physical factory and go, okay, cost, quality, okay, lead time, oh shoot, joy, learning, innovation, oh, respect, I see a smile. There are measurables, and if you have an anthropologist friend, ask them, how do you measure what a culture looks like? And those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. And again, we're gonna wanna take a holistic view of the human person or the human experience here at Kaas. For sure, measure where math wins, but don't apply math to everything else. I'm not trying to give that as a cop out. I'm just saying that a smile is a very strong indicator of people working without waste. If you see joy present in work, you probably won't see a lot of waste unless they have a really funny joke.
Fair.
Does that answer your question, Kaji?
Yep.
Yeah,
Awesome.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Usually you
all-
need metrics when the boss doesn't believe that this is smart, right? So when we go skiing, you need metrics to say that's going to be a really big hit. Let's go hit it. It's like, no, go hit it. Let's see how, oh, you crashed. That's awesome, right? So metrics are all for bosses who don't get it. If you're a metric person, that means you don't understand how this works. So since I do have a feeling directionally whether this works, I don't want to pay somebody to count ducks. I want more ducks, make some more.
Awesome. That was actually what my follow-up question was going to be, is what's the point of metrics? So thank you for getting to that. It's if you have a process that you trust, you kind of don't necessarily need it. Okay, the next question. So we're out of questions here. So if anyone has any more questions, please interrupt me or add questions there. But Jeff, the list, I can't get off of the list. The list is very weighted towards some pretty painful words. If we were using green, red like we normally do, which we probably should have looking back, it'd be mostly red. Do you have any encouraging words or maybe some next steps that an organization can do that maybe finds itself very siloed and having challenges here?
Yeah, the encouraging words. So I know many of you, and so a lot of this is really being done to you by the corner office. So I just want to say there's not a lot you can do in the structure you have with. So I just want to be honest. Is you finding the government or the city hall is probably not so smart. So I'd just say start where you're at. So if you are not above reproach, or if I'm not above reproach, I'm very unwilling to cast stones at people near me. So in our case, we did not have a written strategy until earlier this year that people could articulate. Our current CATA challenge, our improvement that we're doing company-wide, is I'm asking my teams to shorten the lead time of all value-creating activities by 75%. So this activity of learning daily management and the structure that we're sharing with you, which we got from Ann and Jamie at Nordstrom, has caused me to be a little bit less of a hypocrite. We have a strategy, we're aiming at it, and there's activity at it, and I expect to see that in the strategy, in the huddle, in the visual management, and in the leader standard work, meaning are we spending the time on the things we say we care about? So my encouragement to you is be above reproach for your department, for your family, for your soccer team, if you're coaching it. Have a strategy. We've put in writing something pretty bold. We want to be a platform for potential to rise and shine. That's super stupid, super crazy, because now everybody can tell me how stupid I am. But at least we put it in writing and we can tell people this is what we're all about. And we absolutely believe in improving every day, giving our best to our best, meaning don't give stuff to suckies, and know and show the truth. So by declaring and putting it in writing, this is who we want to be, then we can then be attacked, but also it allows it to be a little bit less above or less hypocritical. The huddles are mapped back to that. So I just say you can do that with your soccer team. I coach soccer. For sure, we can remind them, hey, I'm about growing men, which is I coach boys. It was never about soccer. So we would always talk about, hey, remember, I'm here to coach to grow men and get in shape for ski season. I don't even like soccer. Let's talk about the huddle. What do you appreciate about somebody? How do you need help? So this can be applied, this thinking can be applied to a family unit, a business unit, or a company. Yeah. But if you're inside of a company that is casting silo, like all these things down to you, you can't actually fix that. So I just say, if your leaders care about that, have them call me. I will gladly explain the science behind it so that they can decide. If 30% improvement isn't good enough for them, then they probably have some other better plan than that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's really good.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we're actually running out of time. So unless there's a final question, I'm going to close this out with a big thank you for all of you who hung with us for the last hour. It was really enjoyable for me. And I always enjoy these times with friendly faces. And then the next thing is please invite a friend to our next Zoom call, which is in a month from now, the second Wednesday of December, which is the 9th of December. So please, we'd love to have more people join in the conversation. And I do have one ask. I'm going to be sending out a form, like survey to fill out, because I'd love to get more kind of feedback from you guys as to, like, this is our third one. What have you guys learned? How can we make things better? How can we serve you better, essentially? So the more information you can give us, the more we can kind of adapt and help serve you guys in this new kind of era. And I do, okay, so I have some asks coming in from some friends. So Adam's asking, when's the next virtual waste tour? We actually don't have any more scheduled, but if you are interested, just hit me up. We can easily schedule one. And then share a link for registering. So it's the same link that you fill out. I'll send that out with the survey. That's good. And then that kind of answers Jamie's question as well. So I'll send out information on what to share to make that easy for you guys. So cool. That's it. Jeff,
One word retro.
thoughts?
No.
Yeah.
One word retro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
one word that describes anything you learned today, just one word. And really good to see you all. Thank you so much for coming and for asking questions. Yeah, just one word in the chat line of your retro for this time together. And have a great day. Please be in touch if you need anything from us.
And while people are signing off, Jeff, one person asked, have you watched the new show Ted Lasso on Apple TV? Because there's a good leadership thing, and it also is related to soccer. And that, have you
Really?
watched that?
Oh.
Yeah, it's great.
I frankly don't read books or watch TV.
You might have
but
to.
Maybe I will. I might have to. Okay, get that information.
Yeah. Awesome.